Hi, Naomi Norbez here. I hope you're having a good day. I just started my day to record a little video on the new Netflix Death Note movie, because I watched it last night and actually live tweeted it a little bit. You can see that in the description. But there were some things it did and points it made that just rubbed me very, very wrong. As you can see, this video is going to be about romance, consent, and abusive relationships, which seems to be kind of a common theme in my videos, the last few ones I made. Because this Death Note movie is, it's just still pushing the narrative to young people, because the movie's in high school, and it just seems shot and framed for a high school and older audience to me. It's framing to them that the narrative that romance is about force. It's about, I guess, being the alpha partner who knows exactly what your partner wants before they say it. And that is just total crap, by the way. But more interestingly enough, the cartoon OKKO Let's Be Heroes actually kind of talked about this in the episode's second first date. And they kind of were like, hey, listening to your partner and not being a jerk is important. And it's like, how can an 11-minute cartoon get that right? And an hour 40-minute movie that's been through multiple production chains get it wrong? And it's kind of astounding to me. But it's also very sad, because I think it's a narrative that we're still kind of pushing. The idea that to be romantic is to be a forceful partner, to be a force in one's life. And I know, it's total crap. But it's interesting and sad to see how it's framed in this movie, how they talk about what love is, I guess, or how relationships work. And they have, to me, an abusive relationship between Light and Mia, who Misa from the original Death Note is now called, but they don't seem to realize it. Or maybe they seem kind of self-aware of it, maybe a little, but not really. And they just keep on portraying this relationship with abusive tendencies. Honestly, I didn't like the film, and not just because it's not the manga or the anime. Basically, if you want my little thoughts, my little 8-bit sentence, imagine if Misa from the original manga was the person who got the Death Note, and then she started dating Light. Or Matsuda from the manga got the Death Note, and then got an abusive girlfriend. That's basically this. And for those of you who haven't seen the manga or anime, here's my little rundown. It's basically high school kids doing high school things while killing people in a way that basically looks like a music video every single time. And it's shot well. It's edited well. I really like the way they use color. But it's not... The tension in that situation where a young child is taking control of a notebook to kill people, the tension, I feel, is lost. So if you want to watch a high school drama movie with a Death Note, then this is the movie. But if you want to watch a Death Note movie, I don't think you're going to get that, Death Note fans. And I'm going to talk about why here. Because this movie is weird. But not in the ways that, there's a death god and there's a Death Note. Not in those ways. Though I could talk about those, but I'm not. It's weird in the sense that it's 2017, and we're still portraying abusive behaviors as good and or normal. And we're portraying boys becoming man or man-like as a thing of strength, that boys need to quiet their feminine sides and just grow up and man up, and that will make them better, quote unquote. And we're still portraying that in 2017 in a movie aimed at a high school and older audience, and that really, really troubles me that we're still doing this. The whole movie is framed around the idea of becoming stronger. The entire movie is framed around the idea that Light is a weak man before he finds the Death Note and starts using it. And when Mia comes into his life and persuades him to become Kira, to start using it to kill criminals around the world who have done injustices, it is portrayed as a good thing. And the whole movie is framed around the idea of becoming stronger with the Death Note. And I mean, there's already a lot of troubling implications with that, because, I probably should get clear. Death Note, how it works, you write someone's name in this notebook, and they will die. And, yeah, the idea that the movie is framing around the idea, that he needs this to become a stronger, more manly man is awkward at best, and cringeworthy at worst. And I don't know if the movie fully realizes this, that its narrative is framed around this so much, but it is. I want to talk about consent and abusive relationships in this video, and to do that I had to talk about Mia and Light. In a really early scene with Mia, he just starts getting together with her because she's turned on by the fact that, one, he's not affected by the death of a former bully at all, and two, he killed someone in front of her and she's like, oh cool, you have a Death Note now. Basically, that's what happens. Like, you can watch that scene all the way, and it's longer, but basically that's what happens. It probably should have turned Light on that she's a bad partner if she's just like, oh, I like you because of those reasons, but no, he's not warned. Excuse me. So anyway, there's an early scene right after that where Light acts. They go into I can't remember when they go. I think they go in his house or they go in the alleyway or something. I can't remember. But Light asks her, can I kiss you? In this like awkward nerd voice. Because the whole movie is trying to say, Light's a nerd! He's a nerdy nerd! And Mia says back, you don't have to ask. And they make out. And that was a kind of an early precursor of what's to come. Because Light being a partner, like, it's like saying, see, awkward, nerdy guys are dumb. They value consent. Like, that's so dumb. Like, I'm just looking at the movie like, no, it's not. It's kind of necessary in a healthy relationship for it to thrive and grow. Honestly, if someone a partner turned to me and said, can I kiss you? I'd be like, wow, you really value me and my consent. I appreciate this moment. But in this movie, it's wasted. And it's a precursor of what's to come in this relationship. Because the movie is about romance as force. That to be a romantic partner, to be a good romantic partner, one has to have force against their partner. To truly love someone means to be forceful. And it's so no movie. But to me, that's what the movie is saying. And even if it's trying to purposefully frame Mia as a bad partner for Light with abusive tendencies, it's not really shown like that until some of the very last minutes of the movie, where she does something morally evil, I guess. And so by then it's pretty late to start framing Mia as, abusive or bad for Light. But the whole movie is basically about Mia, this, I guess, kind of jock, in a way. Not really, but kind of. That's the best way I can describe her. Teaming up with Light to make him stronger, quote unquote. Excuse me. She's the one who persuades him to, well, not persuades him, it's more like one line, but whatever, to use the Death Note to start killing other criminals as Kira. She's the one who always wants to take Kira further. She's the one who pursues this relentlessly. When Light wants to stop killing, she wants to keep going. She wants to drive this Kira that they've created, this power. But Light always says no. Light holds her back, and he stops killing for a while. He ponders the morality of the situation. And we'll get to Light. we'll get to Light, because the movie frames his stuff in a bad way, too. But Mia, it's interesting to note that in the scenes where they're having an argument, I remember one scene in particular, but most of them, she's basically telling him, man up, Light. You're not man enough to do what I want, to kill other people. One, that's manipulative, and two, it keeps framing caring about things, caring about life as bad. And I'm not saying Light is like totally off the hook. Again, we'll get to him, because some of the ways the movie did this were just awful to me. But it's just, Mia is the one who has control in this relationship and in how Kira acts. She's the one who tells him to go for it. She's the one who tells him, yeah, let's get what they want, or at least she leads him to that. Let's take it further. Let's start killing criminals. And throughout the movie, she's the driving force of Kira, which is an interesting development, to be sure. But I keep looking at this relationship, and I keep finding abuse. I keep finding just little slimy things that tell me this partnership is bad for Light. For example, in one of the climactic scenes, Light goes out and he's trying to find the name of Elle, and he fails. And he goes back to Misa, the homecoming dance. And he shoves the person she's dancing with away, and dances with her. She doesn't say anything, apparently. Light decided to man up, and this is good. I don't know. Yeah, aggressiveness is good. That's another topic for another time. But she basically leans in his ear and says, I know you're mad right now, which is why we're dancing here. We're in public, so you don't make a scene. And she tells him she's been doing a lot of different killings throughout the movie. And it's just shut down my spine, man. Because the thing she's doing there, she's demonstrating a way to control his public reaction, which is a thing that abusive partners do. And it's framed all around the fact that she loves him. There's a scene where Light's like, I don't know what to do. I want to stop killing people. And Mia's like, I love you, Light. And I'm just like, what the heck? They've been dating for months. I think the movie said that there's 400 days of killing. So a year they've been dating, and she's never said that? What? Has a moment always come up Mia, do you love me? Oh, there's our subs. Let's get you. They're framing the scene as this big moment where it's she's saying she loves him. This is real, man. This is big. And I'm just she said it to him before. Why is this a big deal? Unless she's never said it to him. In a case that may be another precursor of a relationship with abusive tendencies. Which one is worse? Which one is worse? That she's never said it, or that she said it sparingly, I guess. But the whole movie is about her controlling him, and at the end, where Light tells her, oh, by the way, I should mention this is going to have spoilers in it. I'll put that in the title. Light says, you can choose me, or you can choose the Notebook. It looks like she's going to choose him, but then she chooses the Notebook. And I'm just yeah, Light, that's what she's been at the whole freaking time! And then they die. Fall off Ferris wheel in a Death Note movie. But I didn't find that scene particularly jarring. I just found it a little odd. I mean, all the deaths in this game are Rube Goldberg devices that are just look like they could be in a music video, but that's another discussion. So they die. And Light falls in this totally black pool of water that has a little light area where he's falling. It's this baptism imagery, so hard. Baptism! He's becoming a new man now. And Mia, look, honestly, the movie had a chance to kind of really frame her as abusive in this, but she falls into a bed of flowers, and they pan over her with flowers on her face and like an innocent look on her face. It's like you could have actually called her out as a bad partner, but you're just using all this romantic imagery as if, oh, an angel has fallen. Like, no, honey, no. The entire movie has been about Mia controlling Light. And they act in the end like Mia's death and killing her, basically, was a thing he needed to become a man. Because you see at the end that he wrote multiple names in a notebook to get them to save him from dying. Get these people to come to help save him from dying. It is just... I'm sorry, it is dumb. I mean, the Japanese movie did the same thing, but it didn't come off as this contrived. Like, in this movie, it comes off like him just pulling stuff from thin air, like, ooh, look, I have Deus Ex Machinas in my pocket. I'm gonna use them all. Woo! Like, come on. But, anyway, so he basically Rube Goldberg's his way out of dying. And, he's in the hospital. And he's talking to his dad. And there's just a feeling in that scene. Like, with Mia's death, he's changed. And he's used a notebook like she uses a notebook. This is demonstrated in the fact that one of the ways he saves himself from dying is using criminals that are listed on this Kira website, where people put criminals that they want to have killed. And they showed us in one of the first early scenes of the movie, I think, like maybe in Act 2, Mia wants to use this website. She wants to use this website to bring down criminals, and Light says no. He doesn't want to use it, because people might just be putting people on there because they want the dead out because they're criminals. But, Mia wants to use it. She wants to, like, use this, I guess, Kira fan site to start killing people. So by having Light using the website that Mia wanted to use to save himself and also killing criminals along the way, it demonstrates that Light is becoming like Mia. That he's kind of taking her aspects of control away from her. That he is going to be like her, that in a way that means he's going to be more like Light from the original manga and anime. Like, basically, Light from the original manga and anime is Mia in this movie. It's kind of weird, but it's demonstrating this control she had over him as a positive thing that he needed to become Kira. It's demonstrating tendencies of abuse as things he needed so he could do his duty as Kira. I don't know. I'm halfway to, like, maybe I'm looking too far into it, and the other half of me is like, you're not looking too far into it enough, Naomi. So, I have a little conflict going on. But I just look at this and I find a movie that has an abusive high school relationship that only someone recognizes as abusive. And it sees the qualities of control and of Mia demeaning Light's manhood and telling him to man up as good. Or at least as what he needs, quote unquote, to become a man, or become a god, I guess, or become Kira. And I just hate that so much. I mean, in some senses, it makes it closer to the original in the sense that it's talking about abusive relationships, because Light's abuse of all of his partners, most of them, like, pretty much all of them I can remember female, is a legitimate discussion point that needs to be discussed when talking about Death Note. But, at the same time, by making Light Turner the protagonist and the abuse victim, and not framing, Mia's actions as abusive, like, they kinda say it's abusive, but not really, then by that point they're not really discussing abuse as much as presenting it and then just saying it's okay, which is honestly even worse. The original text, the original manga and anime, they made it very clear from the outset that Light is an evil man who will get what he wants. This is no more clearly demonstrated in the scene where he basically persuades a woman for, I don't know, I want to say like an hour, to give him her real name so he can kill her. This is one of the best scenes in the original, by the way. It shows us all of Light's positive qualities. It shows us his relentlessness, his tactfulness, his tactical mind, but it also displays how those things have been twisted darkly to fulfill his own purposes as Kira. And there's not a scene like that in this movie. There's not a Naomi Masora scene, which is the woman he was trying to get the name of. I don't see a movie that has high school relationships that are abusive, that's talking about that abuse. I see a movie that's just presenting abuse as romance. It's presenting being forceful to your partner. Pushing your partner to become someone they're not. Pushing your partner to stereotypes of masculinity, into shutting down their feelings, into becoming a man. It's showing that as something Light needed. That he needed to be under an abusive hand. And honestly, that's the most concerning thing I can think of about this movie. That it says romance is force and abuse is necessary. It's really sad, huh? At least it is to me. And I think the fact that we're still talking about this in 2017, that we're still portraying abusive relationships as good, is the most troubling aspect to me, and to high school audiences. It's one of the most troubling things about this movie. And to be fair, I'm not completely saying that Light is off the hook. On Twitter, I called this movie Abuse Victim Who's Also Abusive the Movie, because that's basically this movie. And to be clear, when I talk about Light's flaws, I am not listing them off or to tell you that Light deserved the abuse under Mia. That's not my point at all. But I want to talk about how we apologize for abusers, and specifically for white male crime victim. What's the word here? White males who commit crimes. We apologize for them. And I want to talk about how that goes into the movie. I'm not going to go in depth about the racial politics, though they're probably the most troubling aspect of the movie. How Light is white and Elle is black. And I don't have any problem with Elle being black, and like in theory, because the guy who plays Elle is awesome and probably one of the best parts about this movie. But the racial politics it presents are troubling. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, so I want to talk very quickly about Light as a character in this movie. Because the whole movie is trying very, very hard to apologize for the fact that he's chosen Kira. It's trying so hard to make it look like he's a kid over his head. And it's just no. He's not a kid over his head, for one. He's in high school. And it's his own fault that he's over his head. During the scene where Light and Elle meet, which is, it's one of the coolest scenes in the movie, but also one of the dumbest scenes in the movie, because Elle does some really dumb things in this scene. But basically what Light says to Elle is, I'm being pushed further to kill because you're actually trying to actually catch me and hold me responsible for my actions. And wow, that's one of the dumbest things I've heard in a movie. It is very apologist. Oh my gosh. It's one of the other ways the movie talks about abuse. That victims who are just like, oh, it was over my head. When they actually weren't, are legit. Because we see, he was not in over his head or like things were held from him. He knew exactly what he was doing. Excuse me. We see him, Ryuk, like, they try really hard to make it look like he was kind of guided into doing everything bad he did. Like, Ryuk in this movie is basically an American demon now, with the very strong deal with the devil themes. Excuse me. And they show Light, I guess being pushed, kind of, or persuaded by Ryuk to writing his first name down. And then they show later that Light didn't actually read all the rules in the Death Note. And things like that. They use, like, different scenes throughout the movie to show, to kind of make their case, I guess. That Light's just a kid in over his head, like a poor little kid. He just needs some help and guidance. Like, are you serious? Like, yeah, that, you could, I hope you can tell what's wrong. Because they're framing a kid trying to be like a god by killing people as a little kid in over his head. This poor kid. Like, are you serious? And the fact that they're basically framing Light as, in the L scene, as, I'm being pushed further to kill because you're actually holding me responsible for my actions. Like, that's such an abuse apologist thing to happen. Like, abusers legit tell their victims that if you weren't trying to hold me responsible for my behavior, I wouldn't be abusive. And Light's doing that in this movie! It's so troubling to me. The movie likes to flip-flop between Light being, I guess, responsible as Kira, taking charge of the wheel and actively going for what he wants, and Light as Mia's victim, as a kid who just got pulled in over his head because of his girlfriend. And there's a whole feminist theory talk about the female, basically the only female character in this movie, as the one who's tempting Light, but that's not my territory right now. I hope someone makes a video on that. That would be awesome. But anyway, so this whole movie is trying to apologize for Light's actions. It's that kid you knew who just does one little thing. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, what? Except this time, he's like writing names in the book. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. It's a kid over my head. Scribble name down. Like, it's the narrative of high schooler as child, and like, you can see this a lot in not only crimes where white males have how do I put this? You can see this a lot in crimes where white males specifically are like, yeah, I did a bad thing, but this is going to interfere with my internship. Ah! Stuff like that. And the judge is like, oh, that's legit. Stuff like that. Like, you see this a lot in the United States with crimes committed by white guys. That they are innocent of their actions. That they were just victims in the crime they committed. That there's a lot of apologist language used in journalism to describe white victims as compared to black victims. And, I mean, excuse me, actually, yeah, that's accurate, too. But, and sometimes there is a total the headline, if it's talking about a black person, is misleading in the way it represents the actual incident. This is a good example, actually. A couple of days ago, there was a headline that said, that a man left his kids at home without a babysitter, and they showed his picture like it was a mugshot or something. It looked like a mugshot. I don't know why it looked like a mugshot, but the actual story was he left them with the babysitter, and then the babysitter had to leave, so his kids were home alone or something like that. It's hard to remember right now, but little things like that where crimes are misrepresented. But in journalism, you see a lot of apologizing for white people who committed crimes, both in small crimes and large crimes. And the fact that this movie is just carrying on the apologist narrative, like, it's baffling to me. It's so dumb. Like, this is pushed even further when, in the climax scene, where Elle is holding a gun to Light. And Light's just like, ah! How is it over my head? I didn't know how this works. Just don't kill me. And I'm just like, honey, you know exactly how this worked the moment you picked up the notebook and wrote down Kenny's name. And you're trying to act now like you're just this innocent little kid. This poor little kid. Like, get off. Just, no. No! Like, the movie is flip-flopping at all times between Light as the one in control. And to me, that is Light as learning to be abusive from Misa, learning to shut off his feelings, learning to be a man, quote-unquote. And Light as hypersensitive nerd, which the movie portrays as bad. It portrays sensitivity to another's feelings as negative. Yeah, take that in for a moment. And it's sad because the movie grapples with so many themes of abuse that to actually discuss it and talk about abusive relationships in a high school movie would be amazing. But the movie doesn't talk about those themes as if it's what they actually meant to bring up. It just focuses on its thriller stuff and Mia, I love you, Light. And like, I want to tell you that this is a self-aware movie that talks about abuse and how it can happen to young people too. But I can't because the movie doesn't seem to be framed that way. It doesn't seem to really know that it's about abuse. It seems to think that it's just about power and romance and revenge, but it's not. The fact that the movie thinks that to be a romantic of control, to be powerful in a relationship, to be one who forces oneself on their partner, I guess, or who demeans their partner, who makes them a better person, quote unquote, with abuse. And that the movie frames Light's actions as forgivable because he was just a kid in over his head, when he was never a kid in over his head. Never, not at any point, is demeaning. I wanted to actually talk about the racial politics for a minute because I did just think of something. At all times, well, not at all times, but most of the time with Light in the Notebook, Light is framed as a kid in over his head, caught between Mia and Ryuk, and just being carried along by them, but he never is. He never is a kid in over his head. I want to get that very clear to you. And he doesn't have to take total responsibility for his actions to law enforcement, ever. Elle, on the other hand, Elle is different. The minute Elle steps out of line with the police, and basically, 2 days after Light's in a coma and people start dying, the police is like, well, he's not Kira. Like, the police waited 2 days. 2 days? Are you kidding me? Okay. The minute it looks like Light isn't Kira after 2 days of someone doing deaths while Light's in a coma, Elle is basically put under, how do I put this? He's basically told, don't come near us again, ever, sign the Seattle police. Which he has to break in order to try to catch Light at the end. It's like, okay, what? You have this Elle, it's Elle. This brilliant detective who's been trying to do the right thing the entire movie, but is held back by lack of evidence and law enforcement doubt, which is a big thing in this movie. He's trying to find Kira, but because he fails after 2 days, the police force punishes him for his actions because he did take it too far with search warrants and whatnot. Like, honestly, it's actually kind of funny because the Elle in this movie actually had a search warrant, which the original Elle in the first movie may not have had. So he actually follows the law better than the original Elle. So this Elle is held responsible for his actions against poor little Kira, poor little kid Kira. But Light, who's been killing people for 400 days, I think? 400 something in this movie. He is not held responsible for his actions. That's weird. That Light in this movie is framed as the innocent, where L is not. Which actually is funny, because the L in this movie really does abide more to law than the original L. But yeah, to me, those racial politics, like, it's not like a in-your-face thing, but it's an undercurrent of the movie that it just, I don't know it's troubling, is what I'm saying. It's troubling, and it's hard to talk about. But the fact that L, who is black, is held responsible for his actions the moment he steps out of line. Like, 2 days, I gotta remind you, 2 days! Does. At the very end, he tells his father that he is Kira. Well, his father finds out. His father realizes the truth. And there's this framing that kind of tells me as an audience member that Light's father is okay with this. But then again, it ends on the dumbest cliffhanger ever. Because the movie really wants to be about power. I already talked about that in the relationships in the movie, but it wants to talk about a different kind of power for the last 5 minutes. Because L is tempted to use the notebook to kill Light. Because he finds a little piece of it in a calculus book. It's a little weird. And they want to, at the last minute of the movie, throw in this theme of, look, power corrupts! He's just as bad! And it's just on his face palming over here as the credits roll. Because, one, the movie never led up to that theme properly. It kind of played with it with Mia trying to take the notebook and stuff like that. But it doesn't really talk about it until like the last moments. Oh my gosh, guys, we need a twist. We need a twist. We need to write this twist. And it's just, what are you doing? No, stop it. Excuse me. Because, excuse me, they are not considering the consequences of their actions. To me, when they're trying to say, see, Elle's just as bad! Elle's just as bad as Kira! And because Elle is tempted to use the notebook to kill Light, not for justice, it's strongly implied. Because Light has basically ruined Elle after this whole situation. It's just... Oh, it is just sad to me, this movie. Because it's trying at the last minute to throw in this theme. And to say Elle is the one who's just going too far. It's just not... I don't think it's emotionally competent in this area. I don't know. I don't think I have a lot to say about that particular thing in this movie. Because it's just dumb. It wants to do that Bioshock Infinite thing where it's like, see, both sides are just as bad. But it's failing so spectacularly that it's, honestly to me, it's just facepalm worthy. And it basically is just... it's trying to bring in that theme of power yet again, but in a different way. And it's just... yeah. So, this movie is bad. It's bad. But not because it's a bad adaptation of Death Note, but because all the changes it makes to the source material don't make this movie on its own a good movie. It's about power. It's about abuse and romance and revenge. But it doesn't seem to realize it's about abuse. It doesn't seem to realize it's about good romantic relationships, or, excuse me, it doesn't seem to realize it's about bad romantic relationships. Which is sad, because I think a self-aware movie could really work. And it's just... it's sad. It's sad that we're still getting this message in 2017 that romance is power, romance is force. And it's just... I want a movie that doesn't think that to be a good partner, you have to give up aspects of your soul. I really want a movie that tells me that, because that is the truth. That is the truth, guys. So yeah, I'm gonna stop it here for now. I might come back to this. I don't know, but yeah, for now I'm gonna stop talking about this movie because I am tired of it for now. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. I would love to hear what you have to say. And yeah, I'll see you another time.